Sepp Blatter, the president of FIFA, world football's governing body, showered in fake money.
Here we go, Sepp.
Corruption in the world's game is as expected as Messi's greatness or Ronaldo's pouting.
$229 billion. That's roughly the cost of the 2022 FIFA World Cup.
And when big money is on the line,
Qatar stands accused of migrant worker abuse.
The winner to organize the 2022 FIFA World Cup is Qatar.
A recent FBI investigation uncovered FIFA officials taking kickbacks worth over $150 million.
And now FIFA has enough people indicted for corruption to start its own team. One the Justice Department says is organized, widespread, and criminal. Among the charges, racketeering, wire fraud, and money laundering.
This really is the World Cup of fraud.
Over the years, top names associated with the world governing body have been named, shamed, and suspended. In 2015, a dawn raid on a luxury hotel in Zurich saw several FIFA executives and associates indicted by the US Justice Department, resulting in charges of racketeering, wire fraud, and money laundering.
Moscow is also on the defensive, blaming a Western conspiracy for toppling the FIFA president, who's a close friend of Vladimir Putin.
And then, in 2020, the US Justice Department alleged corruption was involved in Qatar's World Cup bid. It accused 3 FIFA executives of taking bribes to vote for the Gulf state to host the tournament. Ultimately, more than half of the 22 men who voted for Qatar were later accused of or charged with corruption.
when we think of the most powerful in the sport, it is Gianni Infantino, the head of FIFA, who followed Sepp Blatter and, like his predecessor, faced a criminal investigation. We also think of world leaders who lobby for the World Cup and other tournaments. In the United States, Fox Corp faces a slew of lawsuits, most notably the Dominion voting system case. However, as Fox hosted the World Cup, there is another lawsuit that you probably haven't heard too much of. Hernan Lopez, seen here as a former Fox executive. Over 7 weeks, a Brooklyn jury heard arguments of bribes taking place to secure TV deals with Lopez and others at the center. Prosecutors stated Lopez had taken part in a complex scheme to make millions of dollars in secure annual payments to the presidents of national soccer federations in order to secure the rights to the Copa Libertadores and the Copa Sudamericana.
We took everything, we went by the books. They said the law, so we went through the files that they gave us. We pulled out everything in the files, good and bad. And we made a list, and we just checked off the list.
One juror spoke with the Associated Press. The jury would also convict the Uruguayan sports marketing company named Full Play Group, which stood accused of paying bribes for the rights to the Copa, a quadrennial national team competition, as well as to World Cup qualifying matches. The third party involved Carlos Martinez, the former president of Fox Latin America. He, along with Lopez, were arraigned for their alleged involvement in bribery schemes for lucrative broadcast rights. The key witness was this man, Alejandro Berzacco. He was previously indicted in the case. He stood accused of being involved in the $110 million bribe. He was one of 14 people indicted by U.S. authorities on May 27th on bribery, vote rigging, and other corruption charges. Federal prosecutors alleged Lopez and Martinez relied on loyalty secured through the bribes to obtain confidential information regarding bidding for the rights to broadcast the 18 and 22 World Cup tournaments in the United States. Fox later paid more than $400 million for the English language rights to broadcast the 2 tournaments in the U.S. Fox, though, was never accused of any wrongdoing. Berzacco testified he paid tens of millions of dollars in bribes to FIFA officials with the cooperation of Lopez and Martinez. The defendants' lawyers levied serious accusations against Berzacco that he falsely testified against them in the hopes of getting a lighter sentence under a plea agreement with prosecutors, a claim Berzacco's lawyers deny took place. In addition, Berzacco also detailed a relationship cultivated through bribes paid to Julio Grondona, a FIFA VP and a longtime president of Argentina's Soccer Association, who passed away in 2014, to gain inside information that helped Fox Corp win the U.S. English language rights to the 18 and 22 World Cups. ESPN had long held that coveted property. They bent the bidding process, to be very clear. That is what we learned throughout this case, which should be completely blind. Berzacco said he had asked Grondona in late 2011 for help at Lopez's request. Berzacco testified that Grondona had, quote, told me if Fox puts $400 million, they are going to award it to Fox. Tell your friends. Fox ultimately paid $425 million and several years later obtained rights to the 2026 World Cup to be held in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. The United States Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of New York argued Lopez also relied on loyalty secured through the payment of bribes to certain officials to advance the business interests of Fox. Martinez, who worked under Lopez, would be acquitted. However, for Lopez, he was convicted on 1 count of money laundering conspiracy and 1 count of wire fraud conspiracy and faces up to 40 years in prison. Full Play was convicted on 6 fraud and money laundering counts and, as a corporation, could face financial penalties.